Yes, beta, look at your books. We are almost at the ending of the chapter and hope we'll be able to finish it today. We are on page 44. Last lines, when we have seen at the ending point that he has made arrangement for the escape of the prisoner also, so that he could go safely to his own country. So he suggested him that he had a boat which he will give him in the evening with extra food and clothing, and he kept some bottles and food also. He kept two quilts also, and without telling Hannah, he planned with the Tom all this, and he even handed over his own flashlight also, which he was hesitating to give first. We were on these lines last. He had hesitated a good deal about giving the man a flashlight. Page 44, last second paragraph I'm going to start. But he had decided to give it to him after all. It was a small one, his own, which he used at night when he was called. He had a small flashlight which he used at the night time whenever he go to see some patient, but he was hesitating to give that. But somehow he made his mind to give that also, because according to his feeling, he needed more than him. Then he say, if you see the instructions given in the next paragraph, which shows that Dr. Sedo was very much still worried about his life, that he should be safe, and he gives him some instructions also how he could reach to that place safely. In the next paragraph, statement given in the inverted commas, what he tells the prisoner, he says, if your food runs out before you catch a boat, he said, signal me two flashes at the same instant the sun drops over the horizon. कि उसको टेंशन हो रही थी उसकी कि अगर उसको बोट नहीं मिली तो उसको क्या वो कुछ सिम्टम्स देता है, कुछ साइंस देता है कि आप ये निशानियां रखोगे एंड अकॉर्डिंगली आई विल आल्सो कम टू नो अबाउट योर प्रॉब्लम्स. क्या कह रहा है उसको कि इफ योर फूड रन्स आउट, कि अगर आपको फूड की कहीं शॉर्टेज हो जाती है, बिकॉज ही हैड केप्ट सम एक्स्ट्रा फूड इन द बोट इन विच ही वाज बीइंग सेंट, एंड ही इज टेलिंग दैट इफ यू गॉट फूड रन्स आउट, दैट मीन्स आपका फूड कम हो जाता है या खत्म हो जाता है बिफोर यू कैच अ बोट, इससे पहले कि आपको कोरियन फिशिंग बोट मिले जिसमें बैठकर उसको नेक्स्ट आइलैंड में जाना है, देन सिग्नल मी टू फ्लैशेस एट द सेम इंस्टेंट. सेम इंस्टेंट द सन ड्रॉप्स ओवर द होरिजन, कि जहां पर होरिजन में सन नजर आता है वहां पर आप एक मिनट लगातार दो बार फ्लैश लाइट करना, मतलब उसको दो बार लाइट नजर आएगी तो उसका मतलब ये है कि उसके पास फूड खत्म हो गया है, खाना खत्म है, उसके पास कुछ नहीं है. डू नॉट सिग्नल इन डार्कनेस फॉर इट विल बी सीन, और क्या उसको गाइड कर रहा है कि डोंट गिव दिस सिग्नल इन द डार्कनेस इन द इवनिंग टाइम, otherwise it can be seen by others and can be doubtful. If you are all right but still there, signal me once. लेकिन अगर आप वहीं पर हो, मीन्स आपको कोरियन फिशिंग बोट कोई भी नहीं मिली है आगे नेक्स्ट आइलैंड पे जाने के लिए, तो यू शुड सिग्नल ओनली वंस. मतलब उसने अपने लिए एक निशानियां रख ली कि उसको माइंड में ये क्लियर हो जाए कि पर्सन जो है वो प्रिजनर जो है वो सेफ पहुंच गया है या नहीं, वहां से चला गया या उस आइलैंड पर ही है. सो व्हाट ही इज टेलिंग कि अगर आपके पास फूड की शॉर्टेज हो या फूड खत्म हो जाए तो यू शुड फ्लैश ट्वाइस, टू टाइम्स, and if still you are there and you don't have any problem, everything is okay, but you are still there, then flash only once and don't give these flashes in the darkness, because that can be seen by others also. You will find fresh fish easy to catch, but you must eat them raw. A fire would be seen. Another instructions or guidelines given by him to the prisoner is that you will find fresh fish there. कहता अगर आपको खाने की कोई प्रॉब्लम लगती है तो आपको उस आइलैंड में, उस किनारे पर जहां आप जा रहे हो, आपको फिश मिल जाएगी, फ्रेश फिश मिल जाएगी, लेकिन उसको रॉ खाना पड़ेगा आपको. डोंट कुक इट, क्योंकि कुक करेगा तो उसके लिए वो आग जलाएगा, वो फिर से लाइट में किसी ना किसी को डाउट हो सकता है या कोई देख सकता है उसको. सो ही गाइडेड हिम very carefully that he should be reaching at the island safely, and even Dr. Sedo should also know whether he was all right, whether he was having food, whether he had left that island. He should also come to know about this so that he should be free from his tension. Okay, the young man breathed and he agreed that he would do like this as he was told. He was dressed now in the Japanese clothes which Sedo had given him. See, another thing what Dr. Sedo do, he does a great thing also. He gave his own clothes to that prisoner of war so that he should not be recognized from the dress. उसको अपनी Japanese dress देता है. And at the last moment, Sado wrapped a black cloth about his blonde head. और उसके सिर के ऊपर एक ब्लैक कपड़ा उसको देता है रैप करने के लिए, लपेटने के लिए, ताकि उसके ब्लॉन्ड गोल्डन हेयर से भी कोई इसको पहचान ना पाए कि वो अमेरिकन है. See the different steps Dr. Sedo had taken for his safety. It is all for the safety of that prisoner, that he should not be caught by anyone or he should not be in doubt. So his dress was also changed, and it was told that he was having Japanese dress and he was having that black cloth on his hair so that the golden hair should also not reveal his identity. Now, Sado said, the young American, without a word, shook Sado's hand warmly and then walked quite well across the floor and down the step into the darkness of the garden. Now, the young American, without saying any word, though he wanted to say something, but he did not say anything, shook Sado's hand warmly. He shook hand with Dr. Sado in a warm way, that means in a very good way, and then walked quite well across the floor and down the steps into the darkness of the garden. और अंधेरे में वो garden की तरफ चल पड़ता है, because it was night time, evening time, and he wanted to let him go at that time without knowing to Hannah. Once, twice, Shadow saw his light flash to find his way. उसने अपनी फ्लैश लाइट ऑन करी एक दो बार रास्ता देखने के लिए, but that would not be suspected. He waited until from the shore there was one more flash. Now, when he started from that shore, he was given this hint also that when he reached at that shore safely, he must flash it once so that it should be clear to Dr. Sado that he had reached there safely. Then he closed the partition. That night he slept. And after that, that means after the leaving of that American prisoner of war, and when he had reached there, he gave the flashlight for his reaching there safely in that on that island. He went inside and he closed the partition, which was kept open for the purpose, for a particular purpose, and the purpose was of coming of the assassins that were to be sent by a general. Moreover, he said it is warm, and due to that warm weather, they were keeping it open. Now he closed that partition, and that night he slept. That means he had good sleep at that night. Earlier, for the 3 nights, he was not able to sleep with worries and tensions because he was waiting for the assassins to be sent by the general. But he himself had sent that prisoner of war to the safe place, and he was free of the tension. You say the man escaped, the general asked faintly. Now, after this, next day, again he went to see the general. He went to check up for the checkup of the general who was not well. And the general asked Dr. Sado, the young American, without a word, you say the man escaped, the general said faintly, और बड़ी मध्यम आवाज में, because he was not well, so he was not able to speak properly. और उससे पूछता है कि आप क्या कह रहे हो कि आदमी बचकर निकल गया, he had escaped, बच गया, because Dr. Sado told everything to general again. After doing this planning and sending him to the safe place, earlier also he had explained everything to the general because he did not want to keep burden on his mind. कि उसने रिपोर्ट नहीं करा पुलिस को या हेड अथॉरिटीज को. सो ही वाज टेलिंग एवरीथिंग टू द जनरल. उसने अब भी जनरल को आकर सारी बात बता दी कि उसने कैसे कैसे उसको सेफ प्लेस पर भेज दिया वहां पर. सो द जनरल आस्क्ड, he had been operated upon a week before, an emergency operation to which Sado had been called in the night, and doctor was having an operation a week before. एक हफ्ता पहले उसका डॉक्टर का ऑपरेशन हुआ था, और सॉरी जनरल का ऑपरेशन हुआ था, and Dr. Sado was called at the night time. During this time in between, he had an operation also, and at night time Dr. Sedo was called. For 12 hours, Sedo had not been sure that General would live. And after that operation, for 12 hours, Dr. Sedo was not sure about the survival, about the safety of the general after the operation. The gallbladder was much involved. There was problem in his gallbladder. Then the old man had begun to breathe deeply again and to demand food. And then slowly he started breathing properly, deep breathing. He started, and he even started asking for food. That gave Dr. Sedo some assurance that the man is improving. Sedo had not been able to ask about the assassins, and looking at the condition of general, because he was not well, suddenly he had bad health and he was to be operated upon one night when Dr. Sedo was called. So he did not have the courage to ask general about the assassins in this condition because he was not in good health. तो उसने assassins के बारे में उससे पूछा ही नहीं, जबकि उसके mind में था that he would ask general about it. So far as he knew, they had never come, because he knew this thing that they had never not come in his house. The servants had returned, and Yumi had cleaned the guest room thoroughly and had burned sulfur in it to get the white man's smell out of it. And the things were getting on well in his family now, Dr. Sedo's family, because Dr. Sedo's family was once again coming on the track because all the servants had come back, and Yumi had washed that room, that guest room where the person was kept, that American, so that it was totally cleaned properly. So she had burnt sulfur in it to get the white man's smell out of it. उस रूम में सल्फर को बर्न करके उसने अच्छे से उसको वॉश किया, उसकी सफाई करी ताकि उस आदमी की स्मेल तक भी जो है वहां पर उस रूम में ना रहे. Nobody said anything. Only the gardener was cross. No servant talked about anything about the prisoner of war or why he was kept, where he had gone. No one talked about it. Only the gardener was cross. Cross means he was very much uncomfortable with this, and he was asking questions, little bit angry with this, because he had got behind with his Christothymesis. क्योंकि उसका ये प्लांट जो था, गार्डन में उसका प्लांट था, दैट इज अ फ्लावरिंग प्लांट इन द ऑटम सीजन, दैट हैड बीन डिस्ट्रॉयड, क्योंकि इसके पीछे से प्लांट्स की किसी ने लुक आफ्टर नहीं करी, और वो प्लांट जो था, दैट इज पर्टिकुलर नेम ऑफ द प्लांट गिवन टू यू, दैट वाज डिस्ट्रॉयड. वो प्लांट जो था डिस्ट्रॉय हो गया, अच्छे से फ्लरिश नहीं हो रहा था. सो ही वाज वरीड अबाउट हिज प्लांट्स एंड ही वाज एंग्री. But after a week, because he was very much attached to that family, to that house, he had been a very old and sincere servant of the house. So he was very much worried. उसने बताया था कि उसने ये जापान में बेस्ट गार्डन जो था सैडोज के फादर के लिए प्रिपेयर करा था. सो ही वॉज अटैच टू दैट गार्डन ऑल्सो. और अब उसके प्लांट्स की किसी ने लुक आफ्टर नहीं करी, जिस वजह से उसको परेशानी हो रही थी, एंड ही वॉज गेटिंग एंग्री. बट आफ्टर अ वीक सैडो फेल्ट the general was well enough to be spoken to about the prisoner. Or after 1 week, he noticed that now the general's condition was improving, and he can be talked about the prisoner also, about the assassins also. उसको लगा कि अब उसकी condition ठीक है कि उससे बात की जा सकती है. Yes, Excellency, he escaped. See the answer given here of the question asked by the general in the above passage. First line, you say the man escaped. General ने उससे क्वेश्चन पूछा था, लेकिन डॉक्टर सेडो ने इसका कोई आंसर नहीं दिया था. लुकिंग एट हिज कंडीशन, बिकॉज ही वॉज नॉट गुड इन हेल्थ, तो उसको अवॉइड करता रहा उस चीज के बारे में बातचीत करने के लिए. ना असेसिन्स के बारे में उसने कोई बात करी, ना उसने प्रिजनर के बारे में कोई बात करी. बट नाउ ही फेल्ट आफ्टर 1 week of the operation that he is okay, his health is improving, and he can bear if he tells all these things. So yes, Excellency, he escaped. He answered the general in respect by saying Excellency. He says yes, he had escaped. Sedo now said he coughed, signifying that he had not said all he might have said. लेकिन वो क्या सोच रहा है कि उसको पूरी जो है वो अभी तक बात जो है नहीं बतानी चाहिए, बिकॉज स्टिल ही वॉज नॉट वेल. तो what he did, he coughed, he started coughing, signifying, जिससे क्या indicate हो रहा था, that he had not said all he might have said, जो उसको सारा बताना चाहिए था वो उसने नहीं बताया, but was unwilling to disturb the general further, because he was not willing to disturb the general, and was worried about his health. See, again, the worry about the patient and his health, maybe anyone, उसके sincerity जो होती है as a doctor उसकी life में, that was in his profession only, though it was a general or maybe any person, वो हर एक को जो भी patient उसके सामने आता था उसको बहुत sincere way से treat करता था. So though he wanted to tell everything to general, but he tried to avoid it, just looking about his health. He did not want to disturb him by telling the whole explanation, but the old man opened his eyes suddenly. लेकिन उसने जब अपनी आंखें खोली, धीरे धीरे आंखें खोलनी शुरू करी, that prisoner, he said with some energy, did I not promise you I would kill him for you? See the question he is asking, that means in his health, whenever he was coming in conscious, he was talking to Dr. Sedo. He says, that prisoner, डिड आई नॉट प्रॉमिस यू आई वुड किल हिम फॉर यू, कहता मैंने आपसे प्रॉमिस करी तो थी कि मैं उस प्रिजनर को मरवा दूंगा, अपने असैसिन्स भेजूंगा. यू डिड एक्सेलेंसी, सेडो said, and Sedo answered, yes, you did. well well, the old man said in a tone of amazement, so I did, but you see, I was suffering a good deal. The truth is, I thought of nothing but myself. In short, I forgot my promise to you. Underline these lines, which the general is saying. Maybe it is due to his bad health, but he admitted his fault, that he had promised, and in very surprise, he was telling that he forgot everything about his promise due to his bad health, because he was suffering from his bad health. He was suffering great, and he did not think anything except his health. उसने अपने बारे में सिर्फ सोचा, अपनी हेल्थ के बारे में सोचा, और कुछ भी उसने नहीं सोचा. So he frankly told Dr. Sedo that he totally forgot about the promise which he had made, that he would send the assassins for the killing of that prisoner. कि उसने प्रॉमिस करी थी कि वो भेजेगा, लेकिन अब वो क्या कह रहा है, उसने एडमिट कर रहा है कि मैं अपनी हेल्थ की प्रॉब्लम की वजह से आई टोटली फॉरगॉट अबाउट दैट, आई वाज सो इल, so much suffering, that I totally forgot about the promise. I wondered, Your Excellency, Sado murmured, and Sado slowly said this thing. Murmured means not making complaint, but he was thinking that how General could be so careless that after making the promise, he did not send anyone. But now, looking at his condition, he did not want to make any complaint. So he said, I wondered, Your Excellency. He says, I'm very much surprised how you have forgotten about this. It was certainly very careless of me, the general said. But you understand, it was not lack of patriotism or dereliction of duty. Underline the line, which is the question given at the back, given in the inverted commas. He says, I uh, certainly admit this thing, that I had been careless. General खुद admit करता है इस चीज को, that he was very much careless. And why he was careless? He says, you can understand this thing, that it was not the lack of patriotism. It is not lack of patriotism कि अपने country के लिए loyalty या अपने देश के लिए देशभक्ति की कमी नहीं है उसमें. He is loyal to his country. He wanted to arrest the person who is doing something wrong, or dereliction of duty. Dereliction means just not paying attention to his duty, carelessness, becoming towards a duty, ignoring his duty, becoming careless. He says, it is not the carelessness of my duty or the lack of patriotism in me that I forgot. The problem was that I was very much ill and I forgot everything in that. He looked anxiously at his doctor. If the matter should come out, you would understand that, would not you? And he just want to get it convinced from Dr. Sedo कि अगर ये मैटर बाहर निकलता है कहीं, मतलब उस एरिया के लोगों को पता चलता है या दूसरे लोगों को और पता चलता है, तो क्या वो ये सोचेंगे कि जनरल जो है ही lacks patriotism for his nation, or he is careless about his duties. They will talk like this. So he wanted to get it convinced from Dr. Sedo that it was not like that. It was only due to his bad health that he was not able to send those assassins, and he forgot everything. Certainly, Your Excellency, Sado said, he suddenly comprehended that the general was in the palm of his hand, and that as a consequence, he himself was perfectly safe. And now Dr. Sado was also understanding. Suddenly comprehended means he understood what he wanted to say, that general was in the palm, and he also realized this thing, that general was in his hands. Palm of his hand means उसकी मुट्ठी में थी उसकी life, डॉक्टर के हाथ में थी उसकी life, and that as a consequence he himself was perfectly safe. Or what was the result of that? He did the operation, he took care of him, and he was now again in the safe hands. मतलब फिर से ऑपरेशन के बाद उसकी हेल्थ जो थी अब इम्प्रूव हो रही थी, और ही वॉज इन द सेफ हैंड. हैंड्स किसके थे? वो डॉक्टर सेडो के. जब गलत था, उसकी इल हेल्थ थी, तब भी उसकी लाइफ जो थी वो डॉक्टर सेडो के हैंड में थी. एंड now also when he was safe and he had improved his health, then also the life is in the hands of Dr. Sado, and he was understanding everything, whatever the general wanted to say. I can swear to your loyalty, Excellency, he said to the old general, and to your zeal against the enemy. Note down again, just to make him satisfied and comfortable that his patient should not suffer from any worry and tension. He just consoled him by saying this thing, I can swear to your loyalty. I can swear that you are very loyal. I know your loyalty, that you are very loyal to your country. And he told even this thing also to the general, that he knew about his zeal towards the enemy also, कि दुश्मन के लिए उसकी जो जील है, मतलब उनके अगेंस्ट जो उसकी एंथुजियाज्म है कि कैसे दुश्मन को ट्रीट करना है या उनको पनिश करना है, उसके बारे में भी कहता मैं अच्छे से जानता हूँ. और जो आपकी अपने नेशन के लिए लॉयल्टी है, मैं उसके बारे में बहुत अच्छे से जानता हूँ. दैट मीन्स देयर इज नो लैकिंग इन यू. He just wanted to console him that there is no lack of patriotism and there is no dereliction of duty. He just convinced him so that he should be free from the worries and tensions if the matter comes up. कि अगर ऐसी कोई बात, कोई सिचुएशन क्रिएट होती है एरिया में, ये डिस्कशन होती है, या कोई और एरिया का हेड जो है ये क्वेश्चन रेज करता है कि जनरल जो था उसने एनिमी के अगेंस्ट एक्शन नहीं लिया, या उस आदमी के अगेंस्ट एक्शन नहीं लिया जिसने उसको शेल्टर दिया किया या छिपा कर रखा उसको अपने घर में, तो डॉक्टर सेडो विल बी देयर टू कन्विंस द आइडिया that there is no lack of patriotism and no carelessness on the part of his duty. It was only due to his bad health that he was not able to look after this matter. You are a good man, the general murmured and closed his eyes. You will be rewarded. Now, when he got satisfied and comfortable with the saying of the Dr. Sado, he was very much peaceful at his heart, and he started praising Dr. Sado that you are a very good man. And he just closed his eyes because there was no worry in his mind. And he even told Dr. Sado that he will be rewarded for that. But Sado, searching the spot of black in the twilight, lighted sea that night, had his reward. But when Dr. Sado went back home, he noticed that in the twilight मध्यम रोशनी भी होती है जब अंधेरा भी होता है, इवनिंग टाइम में जब दोनों लाइट्स जो हैं वो मिलती हैं, मॉर्निंग की सनलाइट और इवनिंग की जो डार्कनेस है वो दोनों मिलती हैं, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज ट्वीलाइट टाइम. Or at the twilight time, when Dr. Sado went home, he was searching for the spot of the light from the sea on that night so that he could be satisfied about the prisoner that he had reached safely to that place. उसने क्या उसको हिंट दिया था, जब आप वहां ठीक पहुंच जाते हो तो आप मुझे फ्लैश लाइट करके हिंट दोगे that you have reached there safely. And he saw that light and he felt that he had his reward. Underline this, कि डॉक्टर सेडो को क्या रिवॉर्ड मिला? Reaching of that prisoner safely to the nearby island. It was his reward. Whereas general promised him that he will be rewarded for doing good work and for treating the persons very sincerely and looking after everyone very well. There was no prick of light in the dusk. No one was on the island. उसको लग रहा था कि उस डस्क में, डस्क मीन्स इवनिंग टाइम में था, मिड डिम लाइट होती है, जो मध्यम लाइट होती है, उस टाइम पे ना तो पूरा अंधेरा था ना पूरी लाइट थी, कि अगर उसने फ्लैश लाइट करी तो वो किसी को नहीं पता चली होगी. नो वन वॉज ऑन द आइलैंड, क्योंकि आइलैंड पर उस टाइम कोई भी नहीं था. हिज प्रिजनर वॉज गॉन, सेफ, डाउटलेस, for he had warned him to wait only for a Korean fishing boat. And he was very much sure about this thing, that his prisoner had reached safely to that place. And there was no doubt in that, because he had already told him that he had warned him for this thing, that he should wait for the Korean fishing boat. Korean fishing boat आएगी, वहाँ fishermen आते हैं कोरिया के, उस बोट में ही बैठकर वो अपने नेक्स्ट डेस्टिनेशन पर पहुंचेगा. So he was very much sure about this thing, that the prisoner had reached to the place safely. He stood for a moment on the veranda, gazing out to the sea from whence the young man had come that other night. Now he was standing outside his house near the sea in the veranda, and was thinking about that day when this man had reached to his home, how he was taken out from the sea water, and how he had treated, what type of feelings he had in his mind. And somewhere he reached to the American stay here also. When he was in America for education, he just remembered some hints or some events of America also at that time. And going in the background, standing there outside his house near the shore of the sea in the veranda, and was going in the background, अपनी background में जो उससे बातें हुई उनको कुछ याद कर रहा है वो. Whence the young man had come that other night, and into his mind, although without reason, there came other white faces he had known. और without any reason, कोई उसके माइंड में ऐसी बात नहीं आई, लेकिन और बहुत से white faces उसके माइंड में आ गए, जो कि उसने अमेरिका में देखे थे, या जिन लोगों को भी वो मिला था when he was there for education. किस किस का चेहरा उसके माइंड में आ रहा है? The professor at whose house he had met Hannah, a dull man, and his wife had been a silly talkative woman in spite of her wish to be kind. We have already got this information when he was there for education, that he stayed in the house of a professor, um, and his wife was very talkative, very rude, beating the children, and some other type of problems were there. Food was not good, but he had to stay there. And fortunate thing happened with him when he stayed there, that he met Hannah there. He remembered all those days, and his wife had been a silly, talkative woman. This is talking about the wife of the professor. In spite of her wish to be kind, चाहे कि वो अपने students के साथ बहुत kind थी, उनके साथ अच्छा behave करती थी, but she was not good by nature. He remembered his old teacher. Then the second person whom he remembered, his old teacher of anatomy, who had been so insistent on mercy with the knife, जो बार बार उनको insist करता था कि जब आप knife हाथ में पकड़ते हो, that means if you have become a surgeon and you are going to do some operation or some surgery, what should be there in your mind and what knowledge should be there for a good surgeon. He remembered all that, that you should be very merciful with the knife. And then he remembered the faces of his fat and slatternly landlady. Then he remembered the third person, the landlady, who was very fat and untidy. Slatternly means not very tidy, untidy type of landlady थी जिस घर में वो रुका हुआ था. He had had great difficulty in finding a place to live in America because he was a Japanese. He was having great problem in finding the room there to live in America, because it was already told to us that those people don't give rooms or place to the American people. And so somehow he got the room here, and the best thing happened that he met Hannah there. The Americans were full of prejudice, and it had been better to live in it, knowing himself their superior. और जो अमेरिकन थे, they were full of prejudice. Prejudice होता है different type of bias. उनके mind में कई तरह की, जिसको कहते हैं वहम भरम, superstitious ideas थे, and it had been better to live in it. It was very difficult, harsh, not very pleasant to live with those people, those who consider themselves superior, क्योंकि वो अपने आप को superior समझते थे अमेरिकन लोग. So they had different type of prejudices and superstitious ideas in their mind, so they don't allow the Japanese to live with them. how he had despised the ignorant and a dirty old woman who had at last consented to house him in her miserable home. He is telling the stay in America what he felt there. That lady was very despiseful. That means full of hateful feelings. He did not like that lady, but somehow he got the place. Somehow the lady agreed, consented means agreed to give the room in that miserable home. He stayed there. He had once tried to be grateful to her because she had in his last year nursed him through influenza, and he was very much grateful to that lady also, though he was not good by nature or very dirty and untidy type of lady. But he was very grateful to that lady because he suffered from influenza in the last year of his medical studies, and that lady nursed him also. That means she took care, she just looked after Dr. Sado when he was there in that house, because he was suffering from influenza in his some infection from in the last year. So he was very much thankful to that lady also, that she was very kind. But it was difficult for, she was no less repulsive to him in her kindness. But it was very difficult to show greatness and thankfulness to that lady, because he did not like that lady at all. He was she was very much repulsive. Repulsive means not less hateful, means she was hateful. He did not like that lady. उसके मन में उसके लिए नफरत थी. Though the lady wanted to be kind to all those students who were staying there, who was staying there for their studies, but he did not like that lady. Now he remembered the youthful, haggard face of his prisoner. Then suddenly he remembered about the face of that prisoner. See, he's just remembering all those American whom he met while he was there. He went into that house, he met Hena there. Then he was talking about the professor, anatomy professor, who was insisting again and again about the qualities of a good surgeon, that they must know each and every part of the human body if they want to be good surgeon, as if they had made the body themselves. Itni knowledge honi chahiye. Otherwise, it is just like a murdering someone. The professor was telling them again and again, thundering word is used. That means again and again he was telling them that if they want to become a good surgeon, they have to take complete knowledge of each and every atom of the body, as if they had made that body. Then he talked about the landlady, and after all, at the end, he remembered about that American prisoner of war, and he tells us वाइट एंड रिपल्सिव. उसका चेहरा भी वाइट था और रिपल्सिव था, मीन्स फुल ऑफ हेट्रेड. उसके लिए भी उसके मन में कभी भी कोई भी प्यार या अटैचमेंट की फीलिंग नहीं आई. Strange, she thought. I wonder why I could not kill him. Look at the last line. It is very strange that why I could not kill that man. I could not understand why I treated him, why I had the operation upon him, and what was reality, what was in his mind. That was the heart of a doctor, the profession which he had adopted. He was very sincere to that profession. He did his duty very well as a doctor. He was very sincere. He did not take care whether he was American or a man from the enemy field or the protest, his opponent. He treated him in a very well. But now he is just analyzing his condition, that how he treated him, why he treated him. He did not have any liking for that prisoner, why he did all this. So in this way, he was very much thoughtful about this, and just asking the question to himself,